we were talking about at 17K, and then all of a sudden we just fully recovered from November. It was just like a nice like little scoop.
Yeah, it is, right? So you definitely had, I mean, you had the FTX drop here, and then this was where it just went to sleep, right? I mean, it was just no volatility. This is where you had to exercise patience because, you know, you didn't want to be jumping long or short in here, and it was just chopping people out. But once you got this break up, it was like a melt up. We went right back to the technical. Look at where price consolidated, right? Where it couldn't break through initially, that FTX high, and then it finally did, and we're actually starting to consolidate again. So at least in the near term, there is a chance that we could go up to 25,000 on Bitcoin here before running into some major resistance. The only thing I would dare say is that for me, at least, I still have a core position with my members as long on Bitcoin, but I would actually, if we get to 25, I probably unload that, and I probably start looking at turning it into a short for a pullback.
Big bank, small bank, I like to make money. All right.
Welcome, future millionaires, to Crypto Media. And in this video, Gareth Soloway talks about how we are finally out of the FTX crisis. But we haven't reached the bottom yet. But the bulls are making the price of Bitcoin go up, and it is making him nervous on what is going to happen. Do you think Bitcoin is going to go up even more? Or do you think that the bear is going to win? Let's see what Gareth Soloway have to say in this video. But before we get into the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe so we can reach more future millionaires like you.
Ooh. So do you think we could see like the low of like 15 something again? Or fall below that? Because I know so many people were just so bearish that it kind of has me where we don't even know where it's going to go now. But it's hard for me to believe. I don't know.
All of the things that I'm seeing in the Bitcoin market right now are not the telltale signs that a bottom is in. For instance, exuberance, like irrational exuberance, people just getting so crazed about Bitcoin when it's only moved up. And again, you could say from the lows, it's moved up, what, 50%, but really, in the scheme of zooming out on the chart, I mean, it is still way down here, but bullish sentiment is scary. It's almost as if we were all the way back to the highs from what I'm seeing on Twitter, at least. So that concerns me a little bit. One of the keynotes of a bear market really being bottomed out is that the first 20, 30, 40, 50% up, people are so skeptical and scared that they're not believing it yet. In this case, we're not seeing that. We're seeing all this bullish sentiment come back in so quickly, and it does make me a little bit nervous that that's happening.
I feel like whenever Bitcoin moves, they try to compare it to the stock market.
Yeah, so you're right about that, right? So there's no doubt about it that if you look at the S&P 500, like let's bring up the spiders, the S&P 500, the low pivot on the S&P was in October, right? So, and you've seen generally a trend up from here. And if we go to Bitcoin, Bitcoin's low was kind of right over there too, right at the beginning of November. So you can see that there is a correlation, which does make sense because we know that when the stock market topped out, crypto topped out as well. So it's a risk on, risk off environment. Right now we have a risk on environment, so people are willing to put more money to work in the markets, thinking the lows are in. But it just be aware that if the NASDAQ and the S&P really start to tumble back down, it probably would be tough for crypto to withstand that sell pressure.
You know, even Litecoin was holding like $89, $90 and kind of jumped ahead of Bitcoin and ETH. And then all of a sudden, after Litecoin started to pump, then Bitcoin and ETH started to pump. How do you feel about Litecoin? Do you look at Litecoin at all? I don't know.
You know, to be honest, I don't know a ton about Litecoin. I've always been looking at Litecoin as almost like a level underneath Bitcoin. But I will say this, you're 100% right, is that Litecoin started to rip higher, and then a lot of the other cryptos did follow suit. So in that same vein, and again, I don't know if this is something we really want to trust, but if Litecoin started to roll over, do we then say, okay, let's be careful, maybe the rest, like, is it becoming a leading indicator? Which again, I don't know. I mean, that's a really tough thing to think about. Is Litecoin all of a sudden the leading indicator for all of crypto? But it would be something that I would just pay attention to, right? Does Litecoin kind of roll over? Does then the rest of crypto roll over? As a chartist, you're always looking for these little edges, right? That's where we can, you know, outperform institutions, and when we notice little things like this. And the thing is, as a trader, you can't say, oh, it's definitely a leading indicator, so I'm going to put all my money to work when it does it. But what you can do is you can say, okay, let me just pay attention to this. Let me write it down on my notepad, and then I'll check in. And then when you see it happening, let's say Litecoin starts to roll over, then you want to look for other factors. What else are you seeing? Has Bitcoin done a Fibonacci retrace? Is it hitting a major resistance level? Does my thesis hold up when I look at other things? And then that's where you can really utilize it to your advantage.
What should we know about trying to kind of trade in this market where all of a sudden Bitcoin popped and people are unsure, and we were talking about the sentiment, we're not sure which way it's going to go. How do we do our due diligence during this time?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is just to remember not to chase, right? The more hype you see on Twitter, the more, when you see Bitcoin trending and stuff like that, it's going to naturally create an emotional trigger within you that's going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm missing out, I got to jump in here. But really what you want to do is look at the chart. Buy them when they're down, into support when they're on sale, essentially. And I think that's one of the biggest issues that people have. Is that people aren't treating it like going to the supermarket and looking for what's on sale. They treat it like, for some reason, oh, I got to chase this even though it's up 3x or 4x from the lows. And that really is where people get in trouble. Ask anyone who bought in the 60,000 range on Bitcoin, right? You don't go to the store and be like, oh, eggs are now $5 or $10.
$8.
Let me buy 20 dozen eggs because it's so pricey. You go like, you know what? Do I really even need eggs this week? Can I live off no eggs? But people don't apply that same thought process to investing. If they did, they'd actually make a lot more money. So longer term, like if you ask me where Bitcoin is in 3 to 5 years from now, I think it's way higher than here. In the near term, it's not something I'm chasing. I'm much more looking to unload positions in it and kind of look for pullbacks to buy or even new lows. So I just use that mentality. And again, listen, maybe we don't get new lows, but ultimately, you want to be ready. Like I wouldn't want to see someone putting all their money to work now at 22,700 where it is, and then all of a sudden price comes back to 19 or 18 or 17, and they're like, oh crap, I put all my money there to work, now I can't buy any dollar cost averaging. Instead, if you're really intent on buying, okay, but use a small amount. This way you have maneuverability to kind of buy on a dip. Yep, you want to kind of look at all sides, and you don't want to get caught in the emotion of it, guys. And again, the market's prey. I mean, think about emotion as being blood in the water, and then the sharks are circling, right? You got to cut that emotion out. Normally as being a human, we want to have emotion. That's good to have in life, but in trading, it will be your undoing. Like the question is there another FTX out there? Maybe not, hopefully not. And then also, what does regulation bring forth? And again, ultimately, I think regulation is going to be a positive for the industry, but I think that you still have to recognize when it's debuted, when it's first talked about, is it going to cause panic among the alts? Like, what kind of hoops are there for them to jump through? And does that then cause a panic sell-off? Now, Bitcoin we know is a commodity, so it should be immune to that somewhat, but I do worry about some of the alts in terms of the regulation that could come down.
What do you guys think of Gareth Soloway Bitcoin prediction? Please tell us your opinion in the comment section below. And also please don't forget to like and subscribe to this video so we can reach future millionaires like you. Thanks for watching Crypto Media.